Overseas in Europe, the race to contain the spread of the virus rages on. French President Emmanuel Macron saying that his country is at war. Travel across the globe coming to a halt. Take a look at this. London's Gatwick Airport, usually one of Europe's busiest, nearly empty. And in Spain, the military was deployed in hazmat suits to clean train stations and supermarkets. As every country in the European Union grapples with an increasing number of sick people and thinning resources, drastic measures are being put in place. Maggie Rulli is in London. She has more.
As countries around the globe fight an invisible enemy, one by one, European nations are taking extreme measures and walling themselves off. Italy is still the hardest hit by COVID-19. Despite the country's lockdown, more than 2,000 people have died. Eerie and sad sights across the country. A struggle to keep up with burials in Italy's north. In Rome, Pope Francis pictured this weekend walking through the Eternal City, praying in empty churches for the end of the pandemic. Other countries in the European bloc are seeing upticks in infections and deaths. In France, a rapidly deteriorating situation. Over 5,000 sick, the number of infected doubling every 3 days. A scramble to contain and protect populations as resources dwindle. Government officials are seizing medical supplies from private practices as hospitals run out of the essentials. Lives put on indefinite hold. Restaurants and bars closed.
Ça fait bizarre parce qu'on dit au revoir aux clients comme si on allait plus se revoir.
Paris's mayor announcing the closure of all parks. And earlier today, French President Emmanuel Macron announcing the suspension of all travel between EU and non-EU countries.
Starting tomorrow at noon, for a minimum of 15 days, I am restricting the movements of all people. Meeting people outside, whether it's your friends or family, will no longer be allowed.
It's every nation state for themselves in the EU as this unprecedented pandemic takes hold. Over in Spain, the country with the second highest rate of infections in Europe, a 15-day national state of emergency. Everyone is confined to their homes. Any movement outside must be justified. Orwellian scenes in Barcelona, police ordering people to stay home. Getting fresh air, a luxury of the past.
They said that we're not allowed to run today, and that we are just allowed to walk for 1 hour.
In Germany, partial border closures. And the UK not following suit with its European neighbors. No lockdowns, no shutdowns. Instead, advising the most vulnerable to stay home for 12 weeks.
Without drastic action, cases could double every 5 or 6 days.
Despite the inconsistent measures around the bloc and an uncertain future for all, some much-needed lighter moments and shows of global solidarity.
And Maggie joins us now in London with more. Maggie, the EU is now blocking all non-essential travel, but some of their approach appears fragmented at times. Walk us through what officials are doing there.
Yeah, exactly, Lindsay. So this is a big first step, attempting to start restricting travel across the EU. But what we're seeing is that each country sort of has their own measures that they're putting in place. Some countries like Germany shutting down their borders, other countries like France and Spain going on a lockdown with tens of millions of people put into isolation. But then you have here in the UK, the government starting to take stricter measures, but still restaurants and pubs and bars are open. Schools are still open here in the UK. So you see all of these countries in such close proximity, countries that work together that could have this united front. Right now, it's still fragmented. Dealing with this pandemic, many are worried that a stronger stance, a collective stance, really has to be taken.
Now, 2 months ago, China was, of course, the epicenter of this crisis. Today, people there are starting to go back to work. What worked?
Well, Lindsay, this is sort of the perfect example of maybe what's not happening in the EU right now, a country that really cracked down against this pandemic, and some of their measures were controversial at the time. We saw those videos of people being pulled out of their homes, millions of people put on lockdown, forced into isolation. But now, as you said, 2 months later, people are going back to work. Thousands of workers are heading back into factories, even in the hardest hit province where we saw, more than 100 of deaths every single day. They're now into single digits of just people even being diagnosed with with this virus. So, Lindsay, what a turnaround we saw there. And many people are pointing to those measures, saying if we take extreme steps here in Europe, there in the United States, perhaps we can also turn this virus around. But again, Lindsay, we're looking at months here before we know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, those single-digit numbers in Wuhan, at least a little bit of a silver lining for us. Thank you, Maggie. We appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.